Hey everyone, Jane here. Today I'm excited to share a crochet square tutorial with you. This square is simple and quick to make using basic stitches, and we'll be working it in a single solid color. This is a key element in my Crochet Quilt Throw series where it serves as the main square. I use both a solid version of the square, the one I'm showing you today, and a two-tone version, which is going to be my next tutorial. What makes this square different from many other granny squares is the technique. Instead of working continuously in one direction, we'll be turning the work at the end of each round and working back and forth. The back and forth technique is especially useful for the two-tone square as it avoids carrying the yarns across the work. To keep the style consistent, I use the same approach for the solid square, which is what we're going to learn today. This series is inspired by my love for both quilting and crocheting, and my desire to create a crochet throw with a quilt-like design. I've drawn inspiration from the classic Carpenters Star Design. If you're interested in following along, you can find more details about the Crochet Quilt Throw series in the description below. I'm going to be using a worsted weight yarn for this square today. I do use a parchment color for the main color, but because it doesn't show up so well on camera, I'm going to use this nice green today just for the demonstration of this square. In addition to worsted yarn, you're going to need a crochet hook. I'm going to be demonstrating on a 5mm hook, which is a US 8 or an H. However, in my crochet throw, I use a 5.5mm, which is a US 9 or an I, as I find it makes the squares just a little bit softer using the larger hook. The square on the left was made with a smaller 5mm hook and measures approximately 3 3/4 inches. The square on the right, made with a larger 5.5mm hook, measures 4 inches. While the size difference is slight, it can become noticeable when working with a large number of squares. So just make sure you pay attention to the size of your crochet hook. When making these squares for a throw, be sure to leave a long tail when fastening off. For my Crochet Quilt Throw, I use a whip stitch method to join the squares, and by leaving longer tails, I minimize the need to attach new pieces of yarn, which means fewer ends to weave in when finishing. You'll also need a darning needle and a pair of scissors, some split stitch markers or something similar like paper clips to help you find the right stitches to work into when you're turning your work. Okay, let's get started on the solid square. Starting with our magic ring, we take our yarn and lay it across our palm with the cut end facing us. Wrap it around your first 2 fingers and hold in place with your thumb. Crossing underneath, hold it in place again. Bring it back up and wrapping it around your 3rd finger. We go under the first one and over the second one, hooking it and pulling it through and twisting it on the hook. Now we reach over and grab the yarn over the 3rd finger, hook it, pull it through for a chain 1, and we have our magic ring ready to go. Now to make our first round, we need a chain 2 to start with. So I do 1 more chain. And we're going to do half double crochets in this ring. So we want 12 altogether, and our first chain 2 counts as our first one. So we need 11 more half double crochets. Half double crochets are yarn over your hook, insert into the loop, yarn over your hook again and pull up. You have 3 loops on the hook. Hold on to that ring so it doesn't fly away on you. I like to hold on at the base and then yarn over and pull through all 3. There's your first half double crochet, which actually equals 2 if you count the chain. We need 10 more. So let's put 10 more into this circle. So I should have 12 altogether. Let's count them. I like to count by these little V's on top. You could count by the posts, although I find half double crochets a little hard to count the posts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and this chain 2 makes 12. Now we're ready to pull up our magic ring. So let the working yarn go, grab that cut end, and I put my finger and thumb at the base of the last stitch and I pull away and it cinches up the ring. Pull it nice and firm but not too tight, just so it closes in right there. Now we want to finish off this round and get ready for the next one, so we're going to slip stitch in the second chain of this first chain 2. So go up to the second chain and go right through the center of it. Yarn over your hook, pull it through, and pull it through the loop on your hook. And that joins your first round, and we're ready to start our second round. Now on round 2 is where things change up for the square. As I explained at the beginning, we're working back and forth. So normally you would continue around in the same direction when you're working a granny square, but here we're going to reverse and work in the opposite direction. And we'll do this by turning our work as you would in a non-circular piece of crochet. I want to place a few stitch markers here so we can keep track of where we want to be. So I'm going to bring in these little split markers and put it right into the stitch that I slipped into, right in the same spot where the yarn went. So let's take a look at that. See right in there? It's right in where we slip stitched. So it's in the first stitch of this round. And I'm also going to put a stitch marker in to the last stitch that we created. You don't have to do these stitch markers. I'm just doing them to show you where we're going to be working. So if we take a look here, the last stitch we created is actually right here. This little loop right here was formed by the slip stitch, and it doesn't really count as a stitch, not in my terms anyways. So I'm going to put a stitch marker into the last stitch of the round. So let's take a look where our stitch markers are. There's one in the last stitch, the blue one, and this little pinky purple one is in the stitch we slipped into. Now let's just pause it right there for a moment and take a look at something. Now to help you get a better picture of this, let's look at a round 2 that's already finished. So this is a squaring round, and we have round 2 as the squaring round and round 1 in the center, and we're squaring it out. So we're starting with a half double crochet right here that will be the first half of the corner. Okay, let's pick up from where we paused and get working on round number 2. So I start by chaining 1 before I turn my work. Now we're going to turn the work, and sometimes it matters what direction you turn it and sometimes it doesn't. So on this round, I'm turning mine counterclockwise and I'm keeping the yarn over here on my left. So now we have the wrong side facing us. So the wrong side has this strand of yarn hanging from it. So I tend not to work that in so that I always know the wrong side of the work is where this yarn is hanging out. I'll darn that in when I'm finished my square. To work our half double crochet, we're going to go in where this pink stitch marker is. So wrap our yarn around the hook, and you're kind of working a little bit backwards here. So be careful not to kind of get all wrapped and knotted up here, but you want to wrap your yarn around the hook. Take your hook and you're kind of going down and backwards a bit, and you're going into the stitch that I have marked here. As you do this, you'll be able to find that stitch a little easier, but that's where you're going in. And then you wrap the yarn around and pull it up, and you want to pull your hook up so it's kind of horizontal. You have the piece like this, and you want all 3 loops in order. You don't want them kind of stacked and bunched on each other, but you want to be able to control what this stitch is going to look like. Then we go yarn over and holding it at the base, pull it through all 3. That's your first half double crochet. Now we're going to work a single crochet in the next stitch. So the next stitch is where this stitch marker is. You can get confused and try to go into this one, but that's the one that was created when we did the slip stitch. So because I've marked it, we can see it. This is the first stitch, and that is where the single crochet is going to go. So now we have a half double crochet and a single crochet. We can take this blue and take it out. I won't need it, but I'm going to leave the pink one in because when we get to the end of the round, I want you to see where we're going. 1 half double crochet, 1 single crochet. Next is a single crochet in the next stitch. And now our next stitch, we're at a corner. So we want to work half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet into this next stitch. So we go ahead and do that. Half double crochet, chain 2, and a half double crochet. And we've rounded our corner. Now single crochet in the next stitch and single crochet in the next stitch. back to the next corner. It's a very short round. Half double crochet, chain 2, and half double crochet. Then single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Next corner, half double crochet, chain 2, and a half double crochet. Now we're coming across our last edge of this square. Single crochet in the next stitch and a single crochet in the next stitch. So this next stitch is not where the stitch marker is, but you want to go under 2 loops. So you go under that one, and then you have to find the other one here because this stitch was a little out of whack because of the chain 2 that happened before it. So you actually want to make sure you get under 2 loops of that stitch. It's pulled a little wonky because of this chain stitch that we worked into, but it's there, and you work a single crochet so it's nice and sturdy like the others. And now we're going to work into where our stitch marker is. This was where we worked our first half double crochet. Now we're going to work the second half of the corner, and you want to work a half double crochet in that same stitch. So go right in there where the stitch marker is, and you get a half double crochet, then you chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch to complete this round. You want to slip stitch in the first half double crochet, which is right there. You want to make sure you go under both loops of the top of that half double crochet and just do a slip stitch. Now, I'm going to take the stitch marker out because it's in my way. I don't have a lot of room here, and it's bulking things up. So now I do the slip stitch, pull the loop through and through the one on the hook, and we've completed round number 2, still with the wrong side facing us. Ready for round number 3. I don't chain at this point. I just do the slip stitch, then I rotate my work. So my yarn is to this side of the hook. This is my wrong side. If I were to rotate counterclockwise, the yarn cuts across the front of my work. Not a big deal because I can work it in, but I don't want it like that. I would prefer it to go to the back of my work, which means we rotate the work clockwise. Now my yarn is still sitting here and it's not across the front of my work. So the direction that you rotate is just personal preference. The next thing we're going to do is slip stitch into the chain 2 space we just created at the last round. So just pull the yarn through and through the loop on the hook, and we're ready to start the next round. It's going to be a single crochet in this first chain space, and I do start now with a chain 1. Then I work a single crochet into that chain 2 space, and we're off and running on the next round. Right side is now facing us, and you can tell that because this piece of yarn is facing away from us. We want to single crochet in each of the 4 stitches across this edge. So work a single crochet into each one of the 4 stitches. Until we hit the next corner. So we have a single crochet in the chain 2 space, 4 single crochets in each of the 4 stitches from the previous round, and we are on the next corner. In this corner, it's just single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet all into that chain 2 space. And that's what we're going to work all the way around. So 4 single crochets, 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. And then single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. Now just a note, when you're working with half double crochets, the top of the half double crochet stitch doesn't always sit as even as the other stitches do. So a single crochet stitch seems to be more obvious where it is, but the half double crochet sits to the side of it, and because we've rotated our work around and we're working on the other side, the stitch is going to sit just to the left of the post. So that's how you find it. And when you get all 4 of them done, you'll find this last one almost looks like it's working into the chain 2 space, but it is that stitch. If for some reason you get off kilter and go into the one on this side of the post, it's not wrong. Crochet can be one of those things where it's your perception, so as long as you're consistent, it will look fine. So let's work across into the 4 stitches with a single crochet in each one. And we're back to our corner where we want to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. We're working across our last edge now. So 4 single crochets. And now we've reached the corner. This is where we started, and I want to work a single crochet into that space. I go as far over to here as I can so it doesn't get all bulked up. And you'll see that when we do the two-tone, it makes a difference because the color will show through. So I like to make it as close to this edge as possible. So work in right next to the stitch you just worked, single crochet, and that's in the chain space. Then chain 2 and slip stitch into this first single crochet that we did into the same chain space. That completes round 3. Ready for round number 4, we're going to rotate our work again. So I just did the slip stitch and I do not do a chain 1 at this point, and I'm going to rotate my work to the wrong side. So for this round, I'm going to rotate my work clockwise. And I have the yarn ready to go because my next thing that I want to do is slip stitch into the chain 2 space. This round is going to be the same as the last round. We have the wrong side facing us this time, so there's our yarn to prove that this is the wrong side. And we just want to do a chain 1 to start and a single crochet in the chain 2 space. And now we're going to work single crochet in each of the stitches all the way across. So there are 6 of them now. So we want to work 6 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're at the next corner and we're ready to go. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and make sure you go into the chain 2 space of the previous round. Don't go down into this one, that's 2 rounds below. So you want to work into this chain 2 space right here from the previous round. So we did a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. And we're back to working 6 single crochet across the next edge. This is what we're going to be doing all the way around. Back to the next corner, go into this chain 2 space of the previous round and work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. Work across the next edge, 6 single crochets. Our corner, single crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, and single crochet. Now we're on our last edge. We want to work across to where we started. So 6 single crochets. And now we're ready to work the corner. The second half of this corner, just like before, you want to work a single crochet in there, and I want to do it as close to the one I just worked as possible. So go into that same chain 2 space you started in, single crochet, chain 2, and slip stitch in the first single crochet of the round. So that round was just like the round before it. You were just doing it on the opposite side. Now we're ready to do our last round, and the last round is going to be a half double crochet all the way around. We are currently on the wrong side and just finished with a slip stitch. Now we want to move to the right side. Now we're going to rotate our work clockwise. And now we have our right side facing us, and we know this because we have the wrong side with this strand facing away from us. We slip stitch just like before into this chain 2 space, slip it through the one on the hook, chain 1. I'm going to do a half double crochet into this chain 2 space. Yarn over, insert into the chain 2 space, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. This is the way I like to do it. You could just do a chain 2 and that could represent your half double crochet. I like to have an actual stitch to join in at the end of the round, and it gives it more solid. I find if I do a chain 2, I tend to lose it. When I come all the way around, I can't find it. It doesn't have as much presence as this one. So what the chain 1 does is it gives it some height. It does give it a little more thickness than the other ones, but I like that this has the height of the half double crochet. Now we're going to work half double crochets all the way across to the next corner. 1 into every stitch, and we now have 8 stitches to work into. So that'll be 8 half double crochets we're working. So count your stitches to make sure that you have the right number. There's the first half double crochet in the chain space. That doesn't count in the 8. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're good. When you reach the next corner, you want to work a half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet into that chain 2 space. So make sure you're working into the chain 2 space of the previous round. And there's your corner. That's what we're going to do all the way around. So we're back to 8 half double crochets until we reach the next corner. Here we are, next corner, half double crochet, chain 2, and half double crochet. Then 8 more across the next. Next corner, half double crochet, chain 2, and a half double crochet. Now we're working across our last edge, which is 8 half double crochets. Now when we get to here, we need to work into that stitch. It's a little tight because it's right up against where we did the turn. But don't miss it. Make sure you have 8 across here, plus the one that was in the corner. Now we reach the next corner. We started with a half double crochet, so we have to work the second half of this corner, which is a half double crochet into this same chain 2 space that you turned in. And chain 2, and then slip stitch into the top of that half double crochet. See how I can see the top of it? That's why I like doing it that way. So I can actually go right in there and slip stitch, and that ends my round. And that completes your simple little square. Now you've learned a new square and a new technique to experiment with. If you'd like to see how I incorporate the square into my crochet quilt throw, check the description below for more details. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of my upcoming tutorials. Happy crocheting, and I'll see you next time.